Good morning. How y'all doing this morning? Welcome to Choices Podcast. You can find us at choicespodcastofficial.com. We're there. You can subscribe to us by going on YouTube, and then you just Google Choices Podcast and scroll down, and there's a box where we ask you that you subscribe. We're growing. We've been rolling now for about 12 months. Choices Podcast. I think that we know what we're doing a little bit now. It's been a surprise to me how much you have to learn. But starting in January 2026, we're going to take our Choices podcast to the next level. We're going to market it a little bit more. And we are going to have the bomb guest. We're going to have guests and high profile guests in the recovery community. We're going to bring in some great treatment center people so you can learn about that. We're going to bring in great outpatient people so that you can learn about that. We're going to bring in great therapists so you can learn about how to find the right therapist and whether or not you do it Zoom or do it person to person. But we're going to bring in more athletes. I love to talk to athletes about their careers and how they got there and how they share their experiences. We're going to bring in some legal. We're going to bring some judges in, some federal judges. So we're really going to shoot start January 1 with really going to the next level. And no better way to start that than with the topic of how do I build or give back to my personal community? That's the topic today. How do I build or give back to my personal community? I know that sounds weird. Like, what are you talking about, Brett? I'm talking about how you create a community. We've talked about that, how you get your 5 closest friends or you give something that you're passionate about, whether it's your church, whether it's a homeless shelter, whether it's your job, whether it's kids, how you build your community with people with like interest. And I'm going to talk a little bit today about my own life, and that how I build my community is through my personal friends. Um, I have a mentor. He's a federal judge, Judge Kincaid. He is who I listen to. He is who I go to lunch with. He is my accountability check to make sure that my ego is checked in at the door and that I'm doing everything for the right reason. I have my friends I grew up with. They're part of my community. I have my church people. They give back to the community. I have Carcass is my friend, and he is part of my community. I'm saying that because you have to figure out what your passion is, because you got to give back to something that you're passionate about. And if you're passionate about helping people eat, hunger, that's, you know, that's really cool. So like Stella Bell, the lady who helped raise me, and she raised my kids. She spent the last week with me because my wife and kids were out of the country. And she was concerned about some people in her church not having enough money to eat over Thanksgiving because their SNAP benefits were cut off because of the shutdown. So I asked her what she wanted to do. And so her and I got together and we're putting 2 nice meals together to give to her 2 friends at church so that they'll have food. That was me indirectly helping her with her community because she's really involved with her church. So I say that because all of us have our community. And I'll start by asking you, are you a giver or are you a taker? I'm asking you, are you a giver or are you a taker? There's no fence riding. It's either you are a giver or you are a taker. Uh, and you know what I'm talking about. You're either a taker if you're a narcissist pig who only worries about himself, um, or you're a giver where you give back to people, you give back to your community. Uh, One thing that I'll say about giving back to your personal community is you can do it without bragging about it. You know what I mean? Hey, I called so and so to see how they were. I mean, keep your mouth shut, show humility, show grace. It's like Judge Kincaid. Whenever my brother died, he called me about a month later because after someone dies, everyone's your best friend for a week. Then he called me a month later and he goes, "Hey, I want you to come over my chambers." And I went over there and he had all these books. He was a chairman of the board of Baylor at the time. And he said, "I want you to know your brother's death was not for nothing because we're getting close to beating melanoma. Here's what we're doing. Here's where it is. Here's the people working on it, you know?" And that was given back at a time when I needed someone to uninvitingly give back. Um, I have a friend of mine who I grew up with, my best friend growing up. He is currently in a rehab facility. So it's real. If any of you guys are out there from Irving, you know who I'm talking about because we've been best friends since we were 7. But you have to be real careful and walking on eggshells on the right thing to do to give back. So he's in a rehab. Um, I don't know if it's like a assisted living or it's more like a treatment and rehab where you go and try to learn to walk again and do whatever. Carcass,
Oh, excuse me. What's up?
Carcass.
Yes, sir.
I'm
Are we
talking.
already on?
Yeah, I'm talking
Oh,
about giving back.
sorry.
I mean, giving back to how to give back to your personal community, and I'm talking about how I like to try to give back to my best friend growing up. He's in a rehab facility because he keeps falling down at his house. His house is a disgrace. It's crazy how this has happened. He's turned into a hermit, uh, and crazy stuff has happened. Now he's in a rehab facility, and part of giving back, I say, is keep your mouth shut. You know what I mean? Don't brag about giving back to your community, your friends, your church.
Well, we haven't we heard about those folks?
Huh?
Haven't we heard about those folks in the Bible? The Pharisees and the Sadducees?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they used to sit on the corner and brag that they're fasting and oh, look how much agony they're in because they're fasting and oh, look at us, we pray. We pray so hard.
Yeah.
Look at us praying.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. I talked about Judge Ed when my brother died. He called me over to Chambers 30 days later when everyone quits calling you. He wanted me to know he was there and that my brother's loss was not for nothing and how they were trying to defeat melanoma and get a cure. I mean, it was really cool. I mean, I was in awe how much he was giving back to me, but he's the kind of guy that calls you unexpectedly when nobody else is going to call. You know what I mean?
I had one of those experiences this morning, and this friend of mine was nearly in tears. And in fact, after the show, I need to talk to you about his situation, and maybe you can make a suggestion. But he was so gracious at the end. He just said, I don't know why you called, but I'm just so glad you did.
Yeah.
He says, I'm really hurting. I don't know what to do. I don't know who else to turn to. And I, you follow those promptings. And honestly, I felt like I should call him on Friday, and I didn't do it and got busy. And, we all are busy. But I tell you, the still small voice, whatever that little thing goes off in your head, you need to follow it, because
Oh, yeah.
you never know when you're going to make an impact on somebody's life.
That's right. And you don't brag about it. You just do it. So it's like my friend in the treatment center. He's got so much pride, and he's a hardhead. You know what I mean?
You don't know anything about that, Bret.
No. And so when I go over there, I just sit. And he was asleep yesterday. And I sat there for an hour while he slept. But when he woke up, he saw me. And I didn't say anything about me. I just listened. What's going on? Where you at? That kind of deal. Like Judge Ed would do. Like he taught me to show grace, humility. And when you're giving back to your personal community, don't say, hey, how can I give to you? Just do something. Figure it out. Figure out who your community is between your family, your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers, your networks, cultural groups, online community. Find out who it is.
Well, you said an important word, and that's grace. And I think that it's important to learn how to win and succeed with grace. I mean, we see it in sports all the time, and some of these celebrations that they do after a touchdown or a made basket are just obscene. But I think you need to be able to make a mistake and lose with grace too. Even in defeat, I think that those are lessons learned, and I think that door swings both directions. But to your point, don't ask me what I need. Just you tell me what you observe and do it.
Yeah.
And I'll say thank you.
Yeah. Or just call and say, hey, dog, I hope you have a good day.
That's we started doing that early on in the show when we were still in the less than a dozen. We were saying just randomly call somebody.
Yeah.
For no apparent reason.
Big on that. Reverend was big on calling somebody in your contact and just call them.
I still do it, and it always is a pleasant conversation. There's nobody, why are you bothering me? There's nobody like that. They're always, gee whiz, that was awfully nice of you to call me. So
hey, I got a story for you. Ready?
Okay.
So this is a perfect example of what we're talking about. And unfortunately, it does include me, but I love this story. So I worked for a real cool dude in Lubbock when I was in law school. His name was Mike Carper. Wonderful teacher. Anyways, I was in Virginia Beach with my wife, and we were at the airport, and I look over, there's Mike with his dad. I'm like, oh, wow. Dude, this was a long time ago. And I had kids. I think I had both kids by then. Anyways, so I look over there and I say, God, there's Mike Carper. That must be his dad. So I walk over there. Mike, man, how you doing? I love this guy. I still talk to him to this day. Phone call, phone number, 806-747-3016. Anyways, I sit there. He taught me some really cool stuff. You know what I mean? How to care, how to research, how to implement different strategies in a case. But really good guy. And then he was partnering with a guy that was a really scumbag at the time, right? They ended up losing his law license. And I'm like, good, bad. I learned the difference. Anyway, so I told his dad, I said, man, I'm so glad to meet you because your son has done more for me in my career, in my successes that I could ever show my gratitude for. And the dad looked at me like, what? I walked away, told my wife, I said, you know what? I really did not get the kind of response I was looking for from his father because I was just pouring my heart out to him about his son, and he wasn't listening.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll be right back. So I go back over there. I go, dude, you really need to listen to me about the impact that your son has had on my career. I'm so grateful to him and the good that he has and the good that he shared with me and the good that I still didn't have it, dude. There was a disconnect between the father and the son and me and the dad. So catch this. I got on the airplane and I prayed from Virginia Beach to Dallas. I prayed for my friend and I prayed for his father, his heart. And I just prayed. Okay. Well, move this movie forward. And I called Mike one day about 5 years after that. Call him, hey, dude, what's up? Oh, I'm doing pretty good, doing good. I said, good. How's your kids? Well, yeah, my boy's a golfer. He's going to win a scholarship. I'm really excited for him, blah, blah, blah. I said, really? He goes, yeah. He goes, strangest thing, Brett, my dad sold everything up in Virginia and moved down the same block as I live. I said, you're kidding me. He goes, nope. Dad comes over every day. He sees my kids. He's become a large part of my life. I just got so teary-eyed and cried on the phone and told him, I don't know where your faith is, Mike, but I got to share this story with you. And how amazing was that for his faith without saying that? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that, it's always been my thought that despite our imperfections, imperfect people can do amazing things still. And even if it's just something tiny, something that we deem insignificant. When I was a missionary for my church, they told us to always be on our A game, always be kind, always be polite, always be mindful that you don't know really what's going on in people's lives, but to be cognizant of their spirit, not just of their outward countenance, but to be cognizant of their spirit. And sometimes you don't know the influence that you were going to have. I have a story similar to that where these two cats that never came to church, we were in a small branch with hardly any participation. The list showed that we had 250 members and we had maybe 30 at church. So we didn't go knocking on random doors. We went to the members that should have been at church. And I caught this father and this son one day sitting on their back patio with a cigarette in one hand and a beer in the other, staring at what looked to be like a place where they were going to pour concrete. And I said, hey, what are you fellas? And of course, they're, scratching and fetching, trying to put the cigarette out and try to hide the beer. And I said, well, what are you guys doing? And he said, well, we've got concrete coming in 3 hours and we're not ready and we don't know what we're doing. So I rolled up my sleeves and tucked my tie into my pocket. And I said, y'all know how to swing a hammer? And they said, yes. I said, you know how to use a saw? Yes. I said, this is what I'm going to do. So between the three of us, we formed that thing up. And when the concrete came, I said, you guys ever poured concrete? They said, no. And I said, well, okay, follow my lead. I rolled up my rolled up my slacks past my knees, took my shoes and socks off, and I stood out there and we pulled concrete and poured concrete until that patio extension, and it was like a porte-cochere almost. They needed to park more cars. So this was a space big enough to park 3 cars. And so when it was all said and done, and I'm hosing everything down off off the concrete, off my legs and off my hands, and I still had my white shirt and tie tucked into my pocket so it wouldn't drag in the concrete, and my pants rolled up. I said, hey, that was a great learning experience, and I hope you take that to heart. So now you, like you said, fast forward that movie 30 years, and those dudes became the pinnacles of their church group.
Yeah.
In fact, they became guys that were in leadership roles, and were setting the example and not just sitting on their back patios with a cigarette and a beer in their hand. And so, and all I did was help them pour a little concrete. That's it.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was anything big. I didn't think it was a big deal, but those dudes changed their lives because someone took matters into their own hands and showed an interest.
That's a good story, Carcass. You know what else? I'm gonna share with you something that's got to happen that you didn't have at your job. I build culture at my law firm. I totally believe in the culture, and so I totally invite anybody that works with me to come to me about somebody in need, including them, because we're going to do something about it. Whatever that is, we're going to do it. And it's such a lovely way to build a calm, graceful humility culture at your workshop, because I think that's where part of your community is. Sure, it's with your family. Sure, it's with your friends, but it's at your workplace too. It can be.
Absolutely. And
it can change. It can change the whole attitude of the people you work with.
I 100% agree with that. And once again, that was my whole that was one of my hangups about retiring early, is that I appreciated the guys that I worked with so much that I thought, I'm going to miss that. It's kind of like when you retire, kind of like what Randy Grimes said last week. When he was out of the locker room, what did he miss the most? He missed the locker room.
Yeah,
he missed the camaraderie. He missed the friendship. He missed that routine. And you know what? I can say that it was very similar when I retired. But you know what, Bret? That's what phones are for. That's what text messages are for. And that's what cars are for. You can drive over and see those folks, or you can call those folks. But to your point, I think it's incredible. And every time I go to your office, I feel like everybody is on the same page. Whether they're having a good day or a bad day, it feels good over there.
Yeah.
Which is what I wasn't really used to, that, because our corporate office was run a little differently than yours. And I'm not criticizing or saying anything openly bad about them, because they were a great opportunity for me. But I'm telling you, it was a measured difference. That's all I'm going to say.
I have my people come up to me all the time. They tell me they love their job. And after they tell me that, then the next day I'm going to do something to show them that I'm really glad they're here. You know, I buy them all a turkey, and I buy them all a pecan pie, because I don't want them working on Thanksgiving. I want them enjoying their families. I've done that every year for years.
I want to work for you.
Hey, there's different things you can do, but it's like my friend who's in there, whatever facility he's in. You got to be conscious of them. So like me, my wife's going to take care of me, dude. You know what I mean? He didn't have a wife. He never had a wife. He never had kids. And I honor that, because he'd rather be by himself than have a bunch of friends come in there. So I quietly manage the people that go see him. Tomorrow is another friend of mine going over there. Friday I go, Saturday I go. And I'm very conscious of them. Not me, them. And I think that's important on giving back to your community. It's not about you. The only part about you that's important in building and giving back to your community is that you're a giver and not a taker. Whether you give in resources, whether you give in time, whether you give in skill, whether you give in emotional support, whether you advocate for someone that needs an advocate. My wife does that. She advocates for people, and doing that, each of you can pick out a category on where you can give back. And I just think it's important for us. You know what's crazy? You would have told me that at 30 years old. I'd have told you put it where the sun don't shine.
Well, I think, in fact, I think I sent this to you a couple of weeks ago. My random thoughts in church where I'm listening to the message, and when I go to church, I learn something. I don't know how everybody else does it, but we hear testimony and we learn things, and I think something that I mentioned to you is that this service is action. It's not talk. I mean, obviously, you need to talk about things to come up with a plan like you've done.
Yes.
It requires action. You've got to step out of yourself and step into motion to help that person, because talking about it ain't going to get it done.
Here's the other deal. And I told that to my buddies. They're all ringing me while we're doing our podcast. Here's the other deal. You tell me what the rules to the game are, and I'll play by the rules. But know that once I figure out how I'm going to play, I'm not going to quit. You know what I mean? And if if I disagree with you, that's fine. I'll honor what you think, as long as it's in the right perspective. But if not, I'll run over you. That's the way I roll.
Well, and we can agree to disagree, and we don't have to. We don't have to have the same opinion about everything in order to work together and in order to do something good. And I think some of our trepidation in life is that we're afraid of what people will think and what maybe they won't like. Who cares what people think?
Who cares?
And who cares about feelings and whatever? Obviously, you have to be cognizant of, you don't want to, like you said, necessarily run them over. But if they understand the ground rules, the bull's entering the china shop, and I'm going to get it done. And you know what? I think sometimes it's hard for people to accept charity, for the lack of a better word. It's hard for people to say, okay, I need Bret to come over and see me. And I know myself, I'm probably really bad about that. I would rather give. And when you would say to me, hey, I need to come over, I think you need some help, I would say, nah, Bret, no, you don't need to. But you know what? Maybe that's exactly what I need, because you're looking at it from outside the fishbowl.
Yeah. You said it right when we got started. Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. DBAP.
Yep.
Just do it. Well, that Carcass, that's a good way to end the show, dude.
I think so. Sorry I was late. I just had problems logging in. This Microsoft change with Windows 10 to 11 and all that. Oh, it's a nightmare.
I can't tell you how much it's cost me with the IT guy.
Oh, I believe me, I'm fully aware, living on a budget.
All right. Well, I appreciate you, Carcass. I love you, man.
Love you too, Bret.
Hey, by
Have
the
a good
way,
week.
Carcass, I'm getting everyone ready for 2026, because we're going to hit the ground running now that we really are comfortable with our podcast and we're comfortable with our topics. We're going to bring in guests on recovery, therapy, the law. I'm going to bring some judges in here. We're going to bring the best of the best in here, and we're going to hit the ground running.
Well, and I need to say something before we depart here, but thanks a million for what you did for the Metal Roundtable podcast. And we're ready to fold up shop and just say, it's had a 5-year run. We're good. And because of your benevolence, we were able to reinstate everything, get it back into gear, and we've doubled our listeners.
Good.
In 2 weeks. And
Good.
so it's a sign that we still need to do it. We still have a message. And yes, we're just talking about music and records and stuff like that. But still, we're reaching out to people that probably normally wouldn't reach out to anyone else.
That's
And
awesome.
and so mad props to you. Thank you extremely much. Thanks a million. And we truly do appreciate it, because once again, it may seem rather insignificant to you, but it was major significance to you and about 1,200 listeners.
That's fantastic.
So,
well, Carcass, thank you. I appreciate you and Mark, and I hope you guys have a happy Thanksgiving.
we will. Take
All right.
care.
All right, babe.
All right. See ya.